With the outbreak of the Korean War in 1950, the Netherlands decided to raise a volunteer force to fight on behalf of the United Nations for South Korea. The Dutch unit was raised from the previously demobilized Royal Netherlands East India Army, which had lasted from 1832 to 1950 and had been disbanded after the Indonesian War of Independence. Therefore, many Dutch and indigenous Indonesian soldiers from that army joined the volunteer force. The Netherlands Detachment United Nations was established on October 15, 1950, and out of a total number of 16,225 volunteers, only 3,418 men were accepted into the unit and sent to Korea. 2,980 of those men participated in the actual war, as the units that arrived after the armistice obviously did not participate in any fighting during their time in Korea later on in 1953 and 1954. Most Dutch army troops were assigned to the Netherlands Battalion, which was named the Regiment van Huts. Sorry if I mispronounced that throughout the whole video. Anyway, they were attached to the 38th U.S. Infantry Regiment of the 2nd Infantry Division. The battalion was formed on September 9, 1950, leaving the Netherlands on October 26th and arrived at Pusan on November 23, 1950. In Korea, the Van Huts troops had been understrength as the Dutch government had allowed less than a fifth of the volunteers into the regiment. Therefore, they were reinforced by the South Korean CATCOM troops. The Dutch served at 3 key battles. All were around the Iron Triangle sector between 1951 and 1953, with the first one being the Battle of Hill 325 in 1951. The battalion also participated in the Battle of Hongseong from February 11th to the 13th, 1951, which was part of the 4th Phase Offensive and was fought between the Chinese and United Nations forces. After being pushed back northward by the UN's Operation Thunderbolt counteroffensive, the Chinese was victorious in this battle, inflicting heavy casualties on UN forces in the 2 days of fighting and temporarily regained the initiative. However, the Dutch were to cover the UN retreat, to cover the passage and withdrawal of their forces, and then act as a rear guard on their way to Wonju. One of the first Chinese jabs at the Dutch penetrated their line and reached the battalion command post. Lieutenant Colonel Den Oden, the battalion commander, led headquarters troops in a successful attack to eliminate the penetration point, but he was, however, killed by a grenade. Members of his staff were also killed and wounded in this battle. Despite these losses at the battalion headquarters, the Dutch line companies held at the edge of the town while Support Force 7 moved forward from the northeast. These efforts and covering fires from the Dutch troops kept losses low and allowed for the UN forces to pass behind the Netherlands battalion by 11:30 p.m. Those who were able to escape as they neared Hwangseong had discovered that the Netherlands battalion remained engaged, and they drifted west to get away from the firefight, bypassing the city, and they returned to Route 29 below the town. After reorganizing behind the cover of the Netherlands battalion, the survivors moved to Wonju. The Dutch then broke contact with the Chinese and followed just before 1 a.m. The Chinese forces seized the city after the Dutch withdrawal, but made no effort to pursue, and the battle is considered to be one of the most lopsided Chinese victories of the Korean War, yet the Dutch did their job in allowing massive amounts of UN forces to retreat. The Dutch would also participate in the Kojado Island POW revolt in 1952, and from May to June, the U.S. 8th Army Commander General Van Fleet had the POW camp broken down and the prisoners transferred as he utilized as much UN contingents as he possibly could. He had the Netherlands battalion already on the island and would send a UK company, a Canadian company, and a Greek company to provide a UN flavor. The next year, the Dutch fought at the Battle of Hill 340 in the Iron Triangle as their last combat action in 1953. The regiment suffered a total of 116 Dutch and 20 attached Korean soldiers killed in action. 3 soldiers are still listed as missing in action, while 1 Dutchman was taken prisoner and died in the North Korean POW camp. Among the dead was Lieutenant Colonel Marinus Petrus Antonius de Onen, who was KIA during the Battle of Hwangseong in February of 1951, like I mentioned before, and he was posthumously awarded the Netherlands' highest military award, being the Military Order of William. A total of 381 soldiers were wounded, and of the 115 Surinamese soldiers who fought for the Dutch, at least 2 died during the war. Did you know about the Dutch participation in the Korean War before this video? Is there anything that I left out or should have talked more on? Write in the comments, and thank you for watching.